Well, guys, I'm calling it. I'm calling it right here and right now. I'm not even going to call this a speculation video because I'm calling it. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we are on our way to Australia on our next map here on The Hunter Calls the Wild. That's why I made my light blue in honor of their blue flag, the background on their flag. Yay! I really think we're going to Australia, and I think it's going to be really, really cool. All of the hints that Jaxy was dropping today, even with his attempts to be coy about it, absolutely. I mean, the fact that the video was upside down at the beginning and the end of the live stream. At one point when he was reading what I believe was one of my comments, he mentioned that we were just gonna go bouncing down under.
You kind of hinted, but you're hunting fallow to prep for fallow deer. I'm actually hunting red deer at the moment, but that's what I do on this map. Okay, so that's what I do. We can hop reserves if you'd rather. I just wanted to head down under and have a little fun, you know?
And if that's not proof positive, I don't know what is, besides an official announcement from Expansive World. So I want to be clear, I am not a partner with them, so I'm not confirming on their behalf. For me personally, I feel like we've been confirmed. I feel like we are absolutely going to Australia. And there's a couple of things that weren't mentioned in today's live stream that for me seal the deal. So primarily, it's our next great one. I think it's safe to assume that we are absolutely getting a great one with this new release. While Jaxy has been coy about it, he hasn't exactly been in denial about it either, which is sort of his modus operandi when getting ready to announce these awesome new content deals coming out. And since the fallow deer was the leading requested great one, followed very closely by the elk species, I think it's safe to assume that the fallow deer great one is coming. Now, the other thing that makes me very, very confident about this is because they did say that the great one will be coming from an original map and not a DLC map, which Hirschfelden, you know, it's filled with both red deer and fallow. And fallow are the only one that we don't have. Now, it could be Euro bison, but likely not. And the reason for that is, if the new map is Australia, fallow deer would slip right in. What a lot of people may not know is that deer species were endemic to all continents with the exception of Australia and Antarctica. Fallow deer were introduced in Tasmania in the 1830s and then later to mainland Australia in the 1880s. So if the fallow great one is a thing, then there's already a place for it in real life lore in Australia. The sad thing is that deer species that have been imported to Australia are now considered invasive, especially fallow deer, which would give Expansive Worlds a means and a vehicle to create a mission system. Maybe one of the things we'll have to do is to practice herd management on fallow deer, something that EW has already come out in support of. Not only this, but there are 6 huntable deer species in Australia today. In real life, there's the red deer, the fallow deer, the chital, which is actually another name for axis deer, so it's already a pre-existing animal, the hog, the rusa, and the sambar. So that would give us 3 additional deer species if they chose to go that route and add them to the map. Now, historically, we've only got upwards of about 4 new animals with each release. Who knows, this time they might go a little bit deeper and create, I don't know, 4 to 6 new animals that we can hunt. I think now everybody expects that kangaroo will be on that list because Jaxy couldn't help himself and mentioned bouncing I don't know how many times on the live stream. So we can probably expect kangaroo, but as it comes to like brand new species, especially big game, you're probably looking at things like recycling water buffalo, which do exist on Australia. The banteng, which is a type of bovine, might also be included. Maybe even the scrub bull, which looks pretty intimidating if you ask me. So if they're not going to only recycle water buffalo, you might have some of those things as well. There's also some outlier big game things that they might consider, because a lot of the animals that are considered huntable now are species that were brought in by Europeans in the 1800s. This includes things like donkey and camel. Apparently, there's feral packs of camel that roam all across Australia and cause ecological problems, so that might be something that we could see. That would be an extreme outlier, but with EW, sometimes you just never know. I know that they like to keep the maps and the lore true to what you can experience in real life. That's why we don't see things like blacktail in Silver Reach Peaks, and probably never will. Some of the other recyclable animals include things like red fox, feral pigs, wild boar, feral goats, All of these things exist there today. The only unique ones are probably going to be the banteng, scrub bull, possibly camel, dingo, wild dogs. And if we're talking about bird species, you've already got things like mallard and pheasant that you can hunt there, but they could probably introduce things like pigeon or partridge, which would be really, really cool to hunt, I think. What I envision the map to look like is kind of a hybridization between like Vurhonga Savannah and Parque Fernando, with maybe a dusting of Rancho Del Arroyo in there. I could see vast open desert country, maybe some very nice rock formations. One of my favorite rock formations in Australia is Uluru, which is a sacred site to Aboriginal peoples, and I've always wanted to go, and hopefully one day I will. On that aspect, I hope they really take care with the lore. But I could see like reddish colored mountains and maybe some deep valleys have lush greenery and then like some rivers. But if we're going to Australia, we really have to look at the range where fallow deer are known to roam. And those are going to be places like Queensland, South Wales, Victoria, or just South Australia in general. Wouldn't it be neat if we ended up on the island of Tasmania? What if it's not the mainland? What if it's Tasmania? Which would be interesting, but we already have Te Awaroa on New Zealand, so I really hope it doesn't end up being a copy and paste of that. And then they also said to be aware that this is not going to be a reserve. So what does that mean? Which reserves do exist in the nation of Australia? Well, it could mean many different things, but I kind of did some research, and while hunting in Australia is banned from state forests, if you own private land, you can hunt on it. So I'm wondering if this isn't a reserve, maybe it's privately owned land and there's a whole story around it. So that would be interesting to see how that would work out. That does it for my video today. And again, if I'm wrong, may the gaming gods strike me down and you all can just abandon me if you want. But I really think, and I for myself am confirming, that we are indeed going to Australia, and we're probably going to end up seeing some amazing things. My top guesses is that it's going to be a great one fallow. We're going to see the banteng, maybe the scrub bull, and definitely kangaroo. If I had to pick 4 species, that's probably going to be it, and everything else will be backfilled. Now, I'm also leaning with the idea that we'll see the other 3 of the 6 deer species, but if we already have deer, they probably want to save the new species for the big bang stuff, which is going to be those bigger animals. Saltwater crocodile would be cool too. Please, 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 if you haven't already, go follow EW on their socials. That includes places like Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Discord. Definitely get on those live streams like The Hunting Lodge, which for me shows up at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time US. And then there's also the fishing one for the angler, which I think is about the same time but is on Wednesdays. So make sure you're following EW on their socials. Get on the Discord, get on the Twitch, get on the Facebook. They're going to be the ones to bring you the most up-to-date and the most accurate information. I'm pretty excited. Even if I'm wrong, I'm pretty excited. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. I know it came out a little late. I do work a day job, but hey, I'm glad to be a part of the conversation. Like I said, I could be wrong, but I really doubt I am. And if I am right, just remember I literally called it. I'm calling it. It's a risk, but I'm doing it. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you on my next adventure. Bye!